Okay, so today we have a sneak peek into Caroline's kitchen. She's busy doing a lot of cooking for a lot of other people, right? And no time for yourself.
It's been a little wild actually, because everything I'm doing, it's all like really nice people and people I can't say no to and people who've supported me over the year. And everything in itself is like just little. But all together, I keep thinking each day, I keep thinking, right, today I'll get to the end of it and that'll be done. But then each day ends and I'm still facing this mountain. But I'm saying I was just going to show you the first thing I did today. I've just finished off a traditional British Christmas cake, which someone's picking up later today. And I'm hoping at some stage I might make my own one, but it's not looking too hopeful. But what I thought, if we want to officially start the webinar, what I thought I'd do today is just show you very quickly some speed appetizers. I was just saying to Samantha, we're going to see how many we're going to get through. We're going to start with a couple that I've promised, and then I'll just keep going with the ingredients I've got here and throw out ideas. Now, because I'm doing it this way, because we have food in the house and I didn't want to end up with piles of stuff we weren't going to eat, some of them I'm going to show you up to the stage that they will go into the oven. So I have a website, I have an Instagram. You can see some of the, like what the finished ones look like. One of them I've never actually got as far as putting it into the oven. So once I've done that, I will post that on my Instagram as well. I think it works. I'm not too sure, but hey, that's fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and I feel as if I've done this before, so this has got real deja vu, but I'm going to make sausage rolls. So this is, I should maybe had some ready. They're a little bit like pigs in blankets, so like the British version. They only have really 2 ingredients. They're ridiculously simple and they're fabulous. So first of all, I don't even make the pastry. I just use frozen puff pastry. And then I go to the freezer section and I get Jones sausage meat. And normally if I'm making a whole batch, which the way I cut them, you end up with like 72 or something, I would have 3 sausage meat and I would have 2 packs of pastry. But then, you know, I've been used to doing these for parties, but I can assure you 72 may sound like a lot, but they kind of disappear. But I'm going to show you a little different thing. I'm going to show you the basic way of doing it. And so we have each of the packs of pastry has 2 lots of pastry in it. So we're just going to roll those out flat. And the thing is, if they start getting, if they're too hard, you'll find the pastry will crack down the middle. If you leave them out too long, they get too soft. The pastry tends to get a little hard to work with. So there's a kind of like Goldilocks zone when this pastry is just nice and workable, but it hasn't become too much of a problem.
Carolyn, can I ask a quick question? What is the Goldilocks zone? How long should you leave it out?
Maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. But you know, I get very enthusiastic and I think I'm going to kind of get to it, and then I discover it's been sitting out for an hour and a half, and it's like, and I'm also not very good at timing things, because you know how time, my daughter was explaining this recently, there are 2 types of time. There's like physical time, there's some fancy names, and then there's the time that we all know how when things go really, really, really slowly and then speed up. So in my kitchen just now, I'm on some kind of super fast time where the day is evaporating. I'm going to guess around about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Thank you.
But that's once you've defrosted it. So defrost it first, and then it'll sit in the fridge for quite a while. It's quite well behaved. But if it does get too soft, just stick it back in the fridge, maybe even in the freezer for 5 minutes. So we have this sausage meat. And, you know, if you want, you could do something to it. You could grate some onions. You could put in grated cheese. But I never do, because honestly, it's just kind of lovely on its own. And normally 3 of these would do 4 of these sheets. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. I'm only going to assume this will do like 1 1/3. So all you're doing is you kind of mentally cut these sheets in half, or if you want, you can physically cut them in half, because each sheet will make two rolls. So then you just take your sausage meat and distribute it evenly down the side, or sorry, I should say down the middle. So it looks, just, can you see what I'm doing here? Yeah. So it looks about, honestly, this is not science. So we've got that. There is no wrong with this recipe. So we're just going to do that. And then we're going to do this little one here. Like I say, normally I'd have more sausage meat, but I'm saving one of the rolls of sausage meat for Christmas Day because I cannot bear to go back to Stop and Shop one more time. So I find the sausage meat, pastry at the moment you can find in Trader Joe's, which is brilliant, but they don't have the right sausage meat. So the sausage meat is definitely Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Palmer's have it as well. But Whole Foods don't, you know, because they're too upmarket for anything like frozen sausage meat. I'm gonna wash my hands. And then the next part, we're just going to take some water, and I've got a pastry brush, but you can use your fingers. And I've definitely said this on video before, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. Like this, and then cut them in half. Then all we're going to do is we're going to roll them and just seal them. So you want to roll them and then roll them onto the side that you've wet, just to make a roll. And then we're going to cook them seam side down. So that is all there is to making sausage rolls. So at this stage, if you're kind of being organized, I sometimes just saran wrap these now. So they're done, or they also have an egg wash if you want. You can take them up to the next stage as well. But this is the first stage. You could definitely saran wrap them. This is done, the messy part's over, throw them back in the fridge until you want to use them, because they take up less room before they're cut. But I'm just going to show you something fun that I do with these ones. Let's put this pastry out of the way. So for this time of the year, what you can do, which is really cool, is make a wreath. So all you do, and like I said, this is not very exact, is just put a little bit of water on the end, and you can just gather these. And I find this proportion seems to make quite a good size. And just turn it around like this. Join the ends. I can do this on my palm. I should really do it. Let me do it on a baking tray. Might be easier. So just gather the ends like this, squidge them up, and just make a circle. Now last year, I was very organized, and for some reason I had a holly cutter, but I cannot find it. So this year we're using my little star cutter, and you can use the extra pastry that you have and just cut out stars. And again, using the water, stick them on, stick them obviously over where you've made the seams, and just put a few stars on there so you can see what the general idea is. And we're going to, so if you decorate that all the way around, there's definitely on my Instagram, there is the finished look of this. Then what we're going to do is just take an egg. We're going to wash it with egg. Because I might put a few more stars on before I bake this, but I don't. You've now seen me cutting stars, so you don't need to see me doing it again. So brush it with egg. And I was going to show you the eggs I brushed it with. You've seen these. These are my chicken's eggs. Beautiful blue eggs. And then the last thing we're going to do is, and I find this works best with the scissors, is we're just going to snip all the way around, just make little holes all the way around, and that allows the steam to escape and stops you getting a soggy bottom with your pastry. That is, as you can see, super easy, really not an awful lot to that. But let's see if I can find the picture. What I've been doing with that is once you bake it and it comes out, you put it onto a tray, or a Christmas plate or whatever, and then get some greens. I don't know if you can see this. Get some greens and some cranberries, and it just looks really cute, kind of like a festive way. But if you can't be bothered to do that, by all means, just each of those rolls would take generally get 9 sausage rolls out of them. So we're going to put this in an oven. It's going to be 400 degrees. How long is a piece of string? This one will take longer. You basically keep baking it till you get it up to that kind of color. You're just looking for that kind of nice, sort of quite a deep golden brown. And also because of the nature of puff pastry, it releases, and the nature of sausage meat, there's quite a lot of fat is released onto the parchment sheet. And can I just say, I love these. I get pre-cut parchment sheets. They have revolutionized my life. So definitely bake them on a parchment sheet, but then once they come out in the oven, let them sit for 5 minutes, because it kind of, it just settles the pastry. It kind of takes back in some of the fat that it's released, and it just gives it makes it a little bit more solid. So anyway, Christmas wreath, we're done. The next thing.
Wait, Carolyn, before you run off, there was a couple questions.
Oh, are there? All right.
Okay, yeah. So one question was, you said, until it's golden brown, but can you give like a guesstimate of, is it like 15 minutes? Is it 30 minutes?
I would say the sausage rolls, the small ones, if you do them individually, are probably going to be 20 minutes. That I would think run about half an hour. Guys, when next time I cook it, I will try and remember. It's because it's also to do with things like, if I put that back in the fridge and it's super cold when it comes out, it's going to take an extra 10 minutes to cook. So I'm thinking the individual ones, probably 15, 20 minutes. That one, I would think at least half an hour, because there's a fair bit there.
Okay. And then the other question from Kathy was, do you slice to serve after baking?
Again, if you're doing individual, you just put them and then just watch everyone grab. For that one, I put it out and then I kind of let people help themselves. Because you want everyone to see it. If you're going to put that much work into it, you want everyone to see it. And then by all means, you would then slice it to serve it. But I sometimes just, even with cake, I'm a big believer in letting everyone choose their own slice. I don't like to force food on anyone, or I don't want to assume that people want a small portion when actually they want quite a large portion. So I would just have a bread knife beside. Any more questions?
Just to clarify, so when you have the long roll and not the pretty one, do you slice it up first and then bake it, or do you bake it and then slice it?
Sorry, so I should have said. So the various stages you can freeze them. You can freeze them just completely rolled up. I sometimes take it to the next level and actually already wash them with egg and snip them. But again, once you start cutting them up, you need to find more room in because you need to kind of whatever. So I tend to still wrap them in saran wrap, and they'll stay in the fridge quite nicely. I wouldn't leave them more than 2 days, because once the pastry's defrosted, it kind of, I find once the egg washes on, you want to kind of really use it fairly quickly. But if you want, you can cut them up as well, and then you can have the whole tray set up with them cut. And like I say, each of those rolls, the pastry actually has like the 2 marks down the middle. So I use those as guidelines and generally get 3. I like things small because then you can have more than one. But if you want, you could get 6 large, 9 small ones out of these, and use those lines as markers. So you can cut them, then put them away, and then you could actually have a tray with your parchment sheet just ready to stick in the oven. All the work would have been done. So there's various stages. Does that answer your question? Okay. So since we're on pastry and stars, this is my latest thing, which I'm going to show you, which I've just started doing, which is also kind of fun, is a baked brie. Let's see what this piece of pastry is like. So this is a baked brie, and this is it's like a ridiculously large one, because this is the only one I have in my fridge, and I was too lazy to go out and buy any more. So we have another piece of pastry. It's a little bit stickier. And this time we are going to get some flour actually. And I'm going to roll this to make it slightly larger. Give me 2 seconds. Right on here. Like I say, this is the one I've never actually cooked. I just made them for other people. So I'll just take big enough. So you're basically just rolling it out. And I try and actually roll it more around the edges to keep the bottom part here a little thicker because it's going to support the brie. So this is a Costco size brie. It would probably be better to work with a slightly smaller one, to be honest. I'm just going to take the brie out. I'll check first of all that yeah, so we're going to get that completely covered. So the things there's various toppings you can put on this, but the one that I used to begin with was fig jam. But I'm going to show you 2 different ways to do it because I don't want to use all my fig jam up on this. So the first one is just some fig jam. I think Costco actually had brilliant large jars of it, but I've managed to use all of that up. So this is from the cheese shop, but I'm sure you can get it elsewhere. So this fig jam, we're just putting that on 1/2, and then I've actually got some lingonberry, and you like cranberry or something like that would be nice as well. And I'm putting that on the other side. So we just went to IKEA recently, so we've got lingonberry jam. But you know, anything that's just a kind of a red berry would be lovely. Well, possibly not raspberries or strawberries, but something like this. A red currant or a cranberry obviously would be lovely. And then what's nice to put on this is just some little pieces of rosemary. And I recently bought, I think it was Trader Joe's, had a, like Christmas herbs arrangement or whatever. It's been brilliant. I've just been taking little snips of rosemary off. And I'm actually not even a huge rosemary fan, but the combination of the jam and the rosemary and the cheese really is nice. The rosemary just takes a little bit of the sweetness out of it, just gives you a little sort of a counterpoint. So I don't even need to cut it, just throw that together. And then the last thing you can do, as I've got some, again, love Trader Joe's. These are candied walnuts, but candied pecans, you can just buy the raw ones as well. Give a little bit of a crunch. And actually, personally, I think this just looks lovely before it's cooked. I think it looks so, can you see? I can pick this up. I think it just looks so pretty with the red and the green. Can you guys see from there? Yeah. Again, all we're going to do, pastry is very easy. I'm just going to use my fingers. I could use the brush since it's here. So again, we're just going to brush around the edges to get the seal. And all we're going to do is just take up one side there. There, see, look how easy that is. Actually, mine looks a little untidy, so you can make it look slightly prettier. So you end up with quite a lot of the pastry around the sides. So I might try and make that, take that off the top. Yeah, looks a bit nicer. And again, if you've got a little bit of extra pastry, we can get that star cutter going again. And it looks quite pretty. So I'm saying again for this about 400 degrees, I'm thinking it's going to be 25 to 30 minutes. But this is quite a large brie, so it might be longer. The thing with pastry, it really tells you when it's ready by the color of it. So you kind of go more on that. So I'm just going to put a few more stars on, and then we're good. And then the final thing I'm going to do before I put this in the fridge and use it for later is, again, just with the egg wash. So I'm hoping now I've got appetizers for the next few nights. I'm just going to egg wash it, and then I'm going to just saran wrap this. And again, I can cook this off. And I believe if you want, you can cook this. In fact, same with the sausage rolls. You could cook it ahead of time and then just simply reheat it. I tend not to with pastry, but so there we are. Brie en croûte. Do we have any questions from that? No?
Nope. That's beautiful.
Let me just slide that onto a sheet. Get this up here. So those are the ones you have to cook. Let me just tidy up a little bit. Take the pastry away. Wipe down. Just let me wash my hands properly before I start this. So it's okay, because it's only my family that's eating it. So the next thing I was going to suggest we look at is things you can do with smoked salmon. So this is the smoked salmon kit: dill, mustard dill sauce, creme fraiche. Now, this is the smoked salmon from Kirkland. If you are, foolish enough to go there, they do an excellent pack, which has got the little squares, and it comes with this sauce. So I quite often use that, but I didn't think, and we've got loads of this stuff lying around. So there's two things you can do with this. First of all, well, you can do three things. You can make a potato pancake, but honestly, 3 days before Christmas, who's making potato pancakes? So if we're looking to feel a little bit more moderate, I sometimes just put these in cucumber slices. Like I said, I didn't do any prep beforehand because I wanted to show you how straightforward this was. So we're just going to take, let me get a little plate for these. My Christmas plates. So we're just going to take a little bit of cucumber. I use creme fraiche, but sour cream would work as well. I just quite like the kind of slightly acid taste of it. A little dollop of creme fraiche on here. The other thing you can do this with is potato chips. These are ridiculously good. I think we've been to Costco recently, so we've got a very large bag of potato chips. I sometimes do this with the ruffled ones as well, with the slightly larger ones, but these ones will work. Get a few potato chips out. Okay, there we are. And it's the same thing, you just put a little bit of creme fraiche. I sometimes put this like in a little piping bag if I've got a lot to do, or the end of a Ziploc bag, which you then snip. Makes it go slightly faster. This. So just take a little bit of smoked salmon. And we're just going to do this. I'm only going to make a few because they won't last terribly long before everything starts going a bit soggy. So the squares from Costco work really well. Let me just wash my hands again. And then we're going to take a little bit of this mustard. Running out of spoons. You just want a drop. There. And the final bit is just a little sprig of dill, which I would normally wash, but since it's just us, wash dill over the top. There we have it. Let me just take this close. A little plate of smoked salmon and how does it work? This is like bacon. Yeah, there we are. There, smoked salmon on either cucumbers or cucumber slices or potato chips.
Kathy had asked, what was the sauce?
Oh, we're done with it. This here. It's a mustard dill sauce. But like I say, if you get the squares from Costco, it's brilliant. They actually give you a sachet of this in. And if you want, you can mix it with the creme fraiche. It doesn't have, you don't have to do it separately if that's too labor intensive. So anyway, that's smoked salmon. And clear everything away. How are we doing for time?
12:30. People can decide if you want to.
Well, one more very quick one, okay? And it's one of those kind of slightly not revolutionary, but you kind of don't think it would be that nice, but it's actually very, very lovely and very simple. So this is another 3-ingredient one. And the 3 ingredients are figs. It would work with fresh figs for that like 2 weeks of the year when you can see them. Goat cheese and Parmesan. So we're just going to take the figs, we're going to just take the tops off them. These ones are tiny. So quite often I half the figs. But with this, because they're quite small, I'm going to use the whole figs, but I am going to half them to do the appetizer. So we're just going to get a little bit of goat cheese. And honestly, it's just as well using your fingers for this. We're going to put the goat cheese in the middle of the fig. Let me cut a few of these. So you don't need much. And I'm just sandwiching them back together again. And then we're just going to take some of the Parmesan, and you don't need a whole slice. I usually cut them in half and sometimes half again, but since it's only doing 3, so you just take the piece of Parmesan, take the fig and the goat's cheese and just roll it up. And there you have tiny little appetizer. If you want, you can like throw a toothpick through it, but there's kind of no need if it's just a very small family gathering. So the other thing that I was going to also demo, but I completely forgot to get bacon, is the other British appetizer, which is very, you'll see together with the smoked salmon and the sausage rolls, is prunes wrapped in bacon. And it's again a very strange sort of combination, but the whole salty sweet thing is really very nice. And they're as easy as the figs, but I sometimes do both. And so then you get a choice of hot or cold appetizers. So there we are. We have some little figs going on there. So just some very, very, can't do this, very, very simple little appetizers that you can put together for that small Christmas gathering that we're having this year.